This is Phoenix, and I'm going to conclude my talk on Plotinus. Um, so, a little bit of background if you haven't seen the first video. Plotinus is considered the last ancient Greek philosopher. He was a Neoplatonist, and he drew off a lot on Plato's thought, especially his idea of forms. And he has a lot of amazing things to say. Personally, I've gained a lot out of studying Plotinus. Another one of his major points is the idea that Christianity isn't spiritual enough because it attaches a specific weight to Christ himself, a physical entity of fleshly being. Even though Schopenhauer has his own criticism of the spiritual life, the idea that we just be spectacled souls looking out at nothing without the solid ground of the physical world, and thus the stability that grounds that experience, I take immense comfort in this notion of Plotinus. Is the problem with the world that we try so hard to anchor it to something. In other words, is the problem with our understanding because we try so hard to anchor it to something substantial and solid instead of being in a kind of existential drift. Would it be possible to be so spiritual that we don't even believe in a personal God that loves us, but simply believe in a world where we exist and yet nothing exists? That's just me speculating, because I'm not sure, but it's certainly something worth thinking about. For what does it mean to be truly spiritual? Does it mean to let ourselves become completely abstract, ethereal, and tangible? How much bravery that would take? How much bravery and desire? Though even desire would be against Plotinus' project, because desire sometimes implies an entanglement with the physical world. To return to the notion of the importance of contemplation, I find tremendous inspiration with this idea, and it's hard to articulate why, but I think some of the reasons are apparent. Of course, we can't completely forego the concrete world. Epictetus may tell us we are in control of our mind, and that's where our freedom is, but our mind is still bound up with the world in its own way, as it perceives the world surrounding it. So it seems Plotinus goes a step further by implying that reality is simply contemplation, that the only act that really matters is thinking, and that's what's freeing. He reperceives the mind, sees the mind as something that thinks, and is inherently free because it thinks, because it can contemplate and reach truth. What is truth according to Plotinus? Plotinus tends to be pretty mystical with this philosophy, but it seems that the very act of thinking is truth. If this is true, and true to Plotinus' philosophy, then it means that we get misdirected by thinking that we must search for truth. Not that there is anything wrong with this Socratic view of truth, of course. But by perceiving truth in this way, in the way of Plotinus, we understand that the very act of thinking is enough, and we don't need to tire ourselves out on a complicated quest. I find comfort in this as well, because I tend to have the Socratic view of truth, that we are constantly searching, trying to find the answer, by engaging with others, by believing that we have non-knowledge and the like. Indeed, it would seem to me that thinking in and of itself can be enough if we are patient with it. It seems then that Plotinus seeks to abstract our reality in ourselves. It seems that he wants to keep us safe in abstraction. We do of course need to live in day-to-day life with all of its horrors and discomforts. But it seems to me that the most important lesson that one can get from Plotinus is this idea that there is safety in true thinking and true contemplation. Because contemplating is its own kind of action, that is sufficient. Too often, we get hung up on trying to understand what the perfect action is, or we get caught up in a reckless and costly pursuit of the truth and miss out on what our mind is already doing. That is thinking. And of course it is thinking if you believe the notion that we cannot get out of our consciousness in life because we are so bound up with it, and how that isn't a bad thing. The existentialist might imply that consciousness is a disease, but maybe consciousness is a gift. Maybe consciousness is what allows us to really live our lives fully, not simply acting. That indeed, there is more to thinking than we would normally give credit, and that it is sufficient simply because it is a part of us. Anyway, I would just like to close by pointing out that this doesn't mean we detach ourselves from reality, but I think that one can say that the nature of reality is already abstract, and so making oneself at home in abstraction might be the best way to find security and contentment. Of course, these issues can be contentious for many reasons, but that's still nonetheless a conclusion that is at least worth thinking through, as Plotinus would certainly imply. And that's pretty much all I've got. I hope you enjoyed this two-part talk on Plotinus. I hope you find it meaningful. And yeah, as they say, happy thinking, and enjoy the stuff of thought, enjoy the act of thought, enjoy thinking in and of itself. This is Phoenix, and thanks.